This is a second video about the vintage potholder quilt, and a couple of things to note. I have washed it 3 times. The first time, let me back up for a minute. I'm pretty sure I made this quilt when I finished it when I was 14. And I didn't mention that in the first video, although I put it in the notes section, and that's kind of connected with PTSD. I've been seeing these squares in my mind for many years. But anyway, knowing that, I knew it was 45 years old. So, and I can tell you how I knew it was mine. There's pink stitching on a corner, and I know that's my pink stitching. But anyway, so the first thing I did was I put it in the bathtub, but instead of laundry detergent, I did very hot water, which I knew was risky, and pine sol, because I felt after that many years it needed to be disinfected. I only left it in that kind of a bath for about 5 minutes, if that. And I then put it in a cold water bath with laundry detergent and let that sit for about, I don't know, 15 or 20 minutes. I did agitate it a little bit to get it clean. And then I let it drain, and when it drained, it looked like there was actually now dirt coming off of it. So I let it drip dry yesterday, but then this morning at 7 o'clock in the morning, I was throwing it in the washer. So I've washed it 3 times. The third time in the washer, it went on the delicate cycle in cold water. I still got the running of the colors. So that's kind of a warning to anybody who buys vintage potholder quilts. Obviously, they weren't color fast. I don't mind. The whites are still there. A few of them have picked up some red. The brown actually might have been brown water and brown dirt. So I feel much better. I don't care if there's a little bit of pink in some of my whites. I feel much better that it's clean. I'm thrilled to have this. And I've been going through one where I had seen the pattern for this in my vintage potholder books was the one potholder loom book that my mother had had. It was in with all my mother's knitting stuff. There was this one potholder book, and that's the one that has this pattern in it. Now, this is 10 rows across by 13 down, and I think that makes it 50 by, I think 65. Now, these are jersey loops and not cotton. And I also found that Blick carries the jersey loops, and I put the link to that. $6 for a pound, plus only $4.95 shipping. So you can make one of these. Now, I think when I did this, and the way I laced it together with string, which is, I mean, who else in the world would do this with string? They would use yarn. Only I have this other thing about string and remembering my father and I always had string. So anyway, I mean, I use string. I still have string. What I would do maybe on a new one is, there is a method in the vintage book that says you can actually do a single crochet in each loop with thread, with sewing thread, before you remove it from the loom, instead of the hand stitching. So that would give you a single crochet around each loop, and that might be faster than hand stitching each one. But the other way to do it is to just take the potholder off the loom completely like you normally would, and then crochet them together with a single crochet. That would give you a little bit of a border in between each square, and that would eliminate any gaps. So you can think about that. Jersey loops. This is going to be my favorite again. Do you know what it smelled like when it got here? The back of our 57 Chevy station wagon. And my dog, my beagle. I think someone had it in a a hope chest because I could smell cedar, but it was like it was in the back of our car. And this had been donated by mistake many years ago. And I mean, I know there are going to be people that's saying that's ridiculous. It couldn't possibly be yours. Who else would make one like this, is what I'm saying. But anyway, it's a wonderful project. And by buying, you can figure that you get 5 pot holders out of a 1-pound bag of loops. And buying them at Blick, I now figured out I would need, I forget how many bags I would need, but it would come to $191 instead of $356 by buying them, you know, whenever I saw them. So Blick for the jersey loops, and it's 130 squares, 10 by 13. And I think they're wonderful. It's got a wonderful weight to it. Similar to a cotton with a cotton quilt, fully quilted with a cotton quilt batting, cotton like Warm and Natural brand batting. It's that kind of a weight to it, and it's not stiff at all. A wonderful project. And I'm starting to remember all night I've been saying which, I knew what I was doing with the squares. So this one is my grandmother's house. Which one? That one. This one right here is my grandmother's house. And there's one here that's the Howard Johnsons down the street from our house. It's amazing. And I encourage anybody to make these.